Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Inside Indiana Overtime. Welcome to Big Ten play, and for a lot of you, I imagine, welcome to 2015. I assume many of you are probably going to be watching this, tomorrow, January 1st. But I'm here tonight, still in 2014, still in the past, talking about Indiana 70, Nebraska 65. Indiana starts off Big Ten play with a win, and it was a win that looked like it was going to be a lot easier than it ended up being. Indiana built a 16-point lead. James Blackman had a three with 5.5 minutes to go in the first half to extend Indiana's lead to 16. And at that point, I mean, everything was going Indiana's way. I mean, Stan Robinson was throwing up layups that had no business going in, and they dropped in. And Nebraska was missing layups, wide open layups. And it just looked like everything was going Indiana's way. And then total 180, everything started going Nebraska's way. The Cornhuskers went on a 21-4 run, ended up taking the lead from Indiana. 4 or 5 minutes into the second half, and at that point, it looked like history was repeating itself. Indiana last year actually built a 16-point lead over Nebraska, and then ended up losing. So there were a lot of people, even the BTN announcers were saying, Indiana was up 16 over Nebraska last year and ended up losing. But this year's team, a little bit different from last year's team, didn't seem to lose much of its composure, and ended up remaining consistent through that second half. Battling back into it, regaining the momentum, which it's hard to do. As a lot of teams found out last year, including Indiana, it's kind of tough to win over there in Nebraska. So a fairly impressive, at least exhibition of composure from Indiana. And speaking of impressive, in the second half, Hanner Mosquera-Perea had his first career double-double, even though he had one in an exhibition game earlier this year. But still, this is his first real regular season double-double that counts. He had 12 points, 10 rebounds, most of which was in the second half. He was limited a little bit in the first half because he picked up 2 fouls fairly early on, but Indiana didn't really miss a beat at all without him in the first half because Emmett Holt came in and was fantastic in kind of limited minutes tonight. But he played his role tonight. He was the guy who came in when Hanner needed to come out, and Emmett Holt finishes with 6 points, 4 rebounds. And played really well defensively too. He had a block, and he was just in the right place at the right time all night. Well, the whole time that he was on the court tonight. So that very encouraging performance from the front court in general between Hanner and Emmett. Just because going into the year, that was the huge question mark for Indiana, as everyone knows. I mean, everyone knew IU was going to be able to shoot the ball with Ferrell, Blackman, Johnson, Hotzel, Zeisloft, anybody from the outside basically. But the question was Indiana going to be able to defend anybody inside? Were they going to be able to rebound at all? And Indiana's proved that, especially the last 4 or 5 games. Perea's had a really nice show in the past few games, even though he didn't score much against Georgetown, and maybe Indiana would have. Well, Tom Crean actually said he wanted a little bit more scoring out of Hanner in that Georgetown game, but tonight he was everything Indiana wanted and more. When things were really not looking great for Indiana, he was able to fight for some rebounds and shoot well from. I mean, he was 5 for 8 from the floor. He was efficient. He wasn't taking, dumb shots. He wasn't trying to do too much. He was just, as they say, taking what the game was giving him. Yogi Ferrell had some really nice feeds to him for alley-oops and highlight reel kind of moments. But it was just the constant, consistent effort that Perea put forth in the second half. It was really impressive. And speaking of the front court, Indiana out-rebounded Nebraska 44-31, and it was like that the entire night. It wasn't skewed by anything late or anything like that. Indiana was dominating the boards all night. Even when they were kind of falling behind, they were still. It wasn't because of the rebounding as much as it was just because of Nebraska finally making shots and Indiana kind of not really being all together on offense at times. But yeah, Indiana wins the rebounding battle by 13 and outscores Nebraska 38-26 in the paint. It was an effort that was probably very encouraging for Indiana and Indiana fans, just because you saw this area that has been perceived as a weakness for much of the year starting to kind of become a strength, and we've seen that develop over the past few games, against Butler, against Georgetown even, and we've seen Indiana develop kind of a rebounding identity. Hanner leads the team tonight with 10 rebounds, but James Blackman had 8. He also had 8 points, but the main scorer at the guard position for Indiana was Rob Johnson, who had 7 of Indiana's first 8 points, finishes with a team-high 14 points, hits 3 3-pointers, and really kind of spearheaded Indiana's initial um, run to start the game to grab the lead. He plays well. Troy Williams played really, really well. He scored 13 points, had 6 rebounds, and a really nice behind-the-back assist as he was triple-teamed to Yogi Ferrell for a three. But Troy really, especially ball handling wise, had a couple of really nice drives and a couple just nice passes, nice kind of awareness that freshman Troy would not have been able to do at all in any kind of a consistent manner. But he did it tonight. He played really well throughout. And then Yogi Ferrell, he only had 5 points, but he didn't. It seems like Indiana's at its best when Yogi Ferrell doesn't need to score all the time. He had 5 points, 2 for 7 from the floor, 1 for 5 from behind the arc. Not great. But the main thing that Ferrell did tonight, he had 8 assists, 1 turnover, which is, again, it just seems like Indiana works so much more smoothly when people other than Yogi Ferrell do the majority of the scoring. Obviously, he's huge in games where you look at the Butler game, you look at things like that where Yogi kind of takes over and is able to score, especially late. But tonight, Indiana really didn't need his shooting, his scoring ability tonight. They just needed him to make smart passes, to run the offense, to play good defense, which he always does. And he also made a really nice play late in the game where Hanner missed a free throw, and it looked like Teron Petaway, got the rebound and kind of turned his head up court to throw it forward, and Ferrell kind of sneaks in, slaps the ball away, it goes off Petaway's knee and out of bounds, and it's Indiana ball, which kind of sealed the game, even though it was a 5-point game with like 14, 15 seconds left anyway. But there there were just a lot of really, really nice plays from Indiana down the stretch that kind of sealed this game and showed that maybe this team has grown from last year. Again, this is the first Big Ten game. I don't want to make all-encompassing statements about where Indiana's grown and things like that. But through these first, 13, 14 games, Indiana looks much more composed, much more confident, especially late in games. We'll see if that continues. They travel up to East Lansing to play Michigan State next Monday. It's a 7 p.m. tip. I'll be there. John will be there. It should be a lot of fun, and it'll be interesting to see if Indiana can continue to win on the road in the Big Ten. But until then, thanks again for watching. Thanks again for reading all year. Obviously, this is the last piece of content that we will post in 2014 because we only have 3 hours and 15 minutes until 2015. So thanks again, everybody. Have a happy and safe New Year, and we'll see you soon.